Hello and welcome to the Heirs of Elendil submod for Divide and Conquer 2.2. I'm Calistonian, the lead developer of the submod, and in this video I'm going to share with you my final playtest for the 1.1 version. This playtest is going to be a quality of gameplay test. So what that means is I'm not going to be using any console commands or shortcuts to expedite the process of testing scripts. I'm just going to play through it as a normal person would. And hopefully this will be fun for everybody, because I think most of the issues that were present in the 1.0 version of this submod have been resolved in the 1.1 version. And if not, if you do still encounter bugs, I do encourage you to please let me know about them on the Heirs of Elendil Discord server, which is linked to on the Total War Center page for the submod. Do join the community and participate with other fans of the project. So without further ado, we can get into this playtest. If you are just starting out with the submod, I do encourage you to read through the quote-unquote welcome to ACK message, as this goes over a lot of the major changes that are present in this mod. And there are quite a few compared to Divide and Conquer 2.2. And additionally, you can go through this Northern Dunedain scroll. There are a few grammatical changes to this scroll, but not much. It's basically the same as in Divide and Conquer. And you get this message from Heirs of Elendil concerning what's going on back in Eriador. And one of the most unique things about this submod is that it completely changes the quest script for Aragorn. As we'll see in the next script, the next event, Aragorn actually starts as Thorongil. In this submod, he is not present in Eriador. He is actually present in Gondor at this time. As we can see, if we check the date, it says 2970 TA, whereas Divide and Conquer starts in 2980. And at this time, Aragorn was known by various aliases, and in Gondor and possibly in Rohan as well, he was known as Thorongil, which means Eagle of the Star. And he traveled around Middle-earth, basically. It says that he traveled far into the south and far into the east. But one of his most significant adventures was in the service of the Steward of Gondor, who actually was not Denethor at the time of these events, but his predecessor, Steward Icthalion. And in the service of the Steward, he participated in many campaigns, most notably a campaign to the city of Umbar, in which he did some stuff. And in this submod, you actually get to do this stuff. At least theoretically, unless there's something that doesn't work with it. So, you can read through this and it provides some background that I just explained. And finally, before we're done with the intro messages, there are two options, and I'll explain what these optional settings do. For some mods, they enable the optional settings in the installer, but for this mod, I've just gone ahead and done it directly through in-game scripts. So the first option is the Expanded Beacon of Hope, and to provide a little bit more background about this, the earliest version of the Heirs of Elendil submod was a personal project of mine, which basically consisted of expanding the Northern Dunedain roster to include all types of mostly elite foreign units, especially elves and dwarves. And that grew out of my own disappointment with the fact that as Northern Dunedain, I always envisioned myself uniting these kingdoms of Arnor and the Reunited Kingdom, and when I would roll into elven settlements like Linden or Erebor or other interesting places like that, and then not be able to recruit any units from those places, it was really disappointing. So I know in Imladris you can recruit, I think, 3 elven units. The Tulkas Faithful is probably the most interesting one. You can recruit 1 elven unit in Lorien, it's like a militia unit. You can't recruit anything in any of the Linden provinces. And so it was things like that that kind of disappointed me. And I just went way overboard and added hundreds of units from other factions to the Northern Dunedain faction's roster. One side effect of this is that if you attempt to launch a custom battle with this submod and you choose as the era all, and then you try to play as Northern Dunedain, that will crash the game because the all era unlocks all units that have ownership Turks, which is Northern Dunedain. So that will crash the game because there are more than 200 units that have ownership Turks, and it cannot display more than 200 units in the custom battle screen. But that's not an issue for campaign. And in campaign, if you want to play with this frankly quite ridiculous, non-canonical, completely unthematic roster for the Northern Dunedain, then you should enable this option. So if you enable this option, you should expect to find all types of elite units for many different factions all over the campaign map. They will only be available in their specific regions. So for example, Linden units would be available at Linden and not anywhere else. And it will require like at least 50% Dunedain culture. Most of them require even more than that. So basically you have to control those territories for quite a long time before you're able to recruit any of these units. But it is there, and it is your choice to play with. For this playtest, I'm not going to play with this setting. The second optional setting has to do with which units from the successor kingdoms are available after you unite Arnor. Again, these two options are only available if you play as Northern Dunedain, which we are in this campaign. And what this option does is it makes it so that once you've united Arnor, you will unlock all of the 3 successor kingdoms units. If you do not play with this option and you do not unite any of the successor kingdom units like Arthedain, Cardolan, and Rudar, then those units will not become available once you've united Arnor. If you unite Arthedain and then you unite Arnor, you will only have the Arthedain units and the Arnorian units available. However, if you enable this option, you will have, if you united Arthedain and then united Arnor, you will then have Cardolan and Rudour's units in addition to the Arthedain units once you've united Arnor. But I'm not going to play with that setting either, because I want to kind of emphasize the importance of the unique units for each successor kingdom. And they are, even if you enable the option, you still do need to be strategic about which successor kingdom you're going to choose. But I think this emphasizes the importance of that decision, so I'm going to not play with that option either. And we can see the only thing that has changed on the starting diplomacy is that now Northern Dunedain are in fact at war with Ar Adonayim, and this is necessary for the Thorongil quest, which begins here in Gondor, as I say, with Thorongil present. And if we check Thorongil's information, you will notice that Thorongil has his own name, and for those of you who are maybe a little bit experienced with modding, to explain what's going on behind the scenes here, Thorongil is in fact a different character. He looks like Aragorn, but he is in fact his own character, a completely different character. So if you acquire in the course of the Thorongil quest a bunch of unique traits or ancillaries, you should know that these will not carry over to Aragorn when he actually returns. And we will see that. Now, one thing that we are planning on doing for the 1.2 version of this submod is completely overhauling how the Thorongil quest works and making it more of an RPG style deal, as opposed to the very linear quest that it is currently. But as it is currently set up, Thorongil starts in Gondor and has this very linear quest that he follows. And he starts with a few different ancillaries and a few traits, but as you can see, he obviously does not have all of the ancillaries and traits that Aragorn has at the start of the campaign. In fact, he's a fairly mediocre general as far as generals go, stat-wise. He does have the Ring of Bar here, and the description for this ancillary has been completely changed, and you can read that, and explains a lot of information about its origin in the First Age. It actually has a very interesting history, that ancillary, and not to mention it says Heirs of Elendil in the description, so that's kind of the mise en bille of this mod. But we do see as well that Aragorn's starting bodyguard is The Veterans of Umbar. Now, this unit was previously the Osgiliath Veterans, and they have been repurposed, and they are now only available through the Thorngil quest line. So they are a unique unit in that they only exist in this specific purpose in the campaign. Gondor has been compensated for this loss by getting a unique, very advanced steelbow unit for the 4th Age. But we will probably not get to that in the course of this playtest, but it just needs to be said, the Veterans of Umbar, their stats have in fact been boosted, their melee attack especially, you can see rated at 12 here, and with 8 missile attack, this makes them one of the best archer units in the game, and they are definitely able to stand their ground in melee combat, which we will probably get to see. Now, Aragorn's little starting army of militia from Gondor is slightly randomized. There are a few different variations of this army that you can get. One of them has some archers, maybe 2 of them have archers, but I've gotten the one with no archers, except for my bodyguard, of course. And our first mission is to defeat this army here, which is a Corsair raid, which is attacking the city of Pelargir. So we're going to try to save this city. If we do not save this city, it will certainly fall. The defenders here, as you can see, are not sufficient to hold off this army. So this army that spawns here is also randomized. And there are a few different variations of it, and we appear to have gotten one of the variations that has catapults. There is another variation that has ballistae. So we're going to go ahead and fight the first battle of the campaign.
We shall engage.
And you should, you can, if you're pressed for time or you're testing, you can auto-resolve this, and it will progress you through the script. But the script does depend on the character being killed, just like the other script that we're going to get to in Umbar. So auto-resolving, having them run away, is not necessarily the best strategy. I think this is a new loading screen. This is one of the new loading screens that this submod adds. This submod does more than double the number of loading screens. All of them are standard resolution, and I think they're really nice. I've only tried to select very high quality loading screens. A lot of them were made by Ted Nasmith. This one was not. I don't know who the artist on this one was. Ted Nasmith was the illustrator for a lot of Tolkien's books. So hopefully this doesn't end up lagging too horribly on the recording, but I found that most of the time it does tend to lag pretty bad on the recording, so I do apologize for that. So the strategy here is we're going to wait for the catapults to turn around, and then we're going to move forward a little bit. And for this battle, if you attempt to rush across the bridge to help your ally, you will just lose. And in fact, Aragorn might even be killed. Oh, we're too close. We do not want to take any shots from that catapult, because if Thorngil dies, then the quest is over. So we're going to let our ally do most of the work here, and it will actually turn out that the ally does not end up doing most of the work, because as soon as this army gets attacked, they will run across the bridge straight into us. But we're going to let Gondor take the catapult shots for sure, because their units are a little bit more expendable than ours. And we're going to trap this army on both sides of the bridge, which is kind of the strategy for this battle, since we are outnumbered. Even our combined armies are outnumbered. But in terms of quality, it's actually, the Umbar army is a little bit overmatched in terms of quality. But yeah, they take some pretty brutal catapult shots here at the beginning. And they're going to invade the only unit, they're going to attack the only unit which is really a threat to us, which is this Naru Naaru Household Guard. And hopefully they can take them out. And as I say, the entire Umbar army is now going to, as soon as they get engaged a little bit, they are going to start running straight across the bridge. So we're going to start positioning our guys here. I'm going to keep these guys in reserve. And hopefully these guys will be able to shoot the distance across the bridge, because they're going to start coming. So a lot of Umbar's units, especially the archers, they just sort of run back and forth in this battle and don't participate until it's too late. So let's start shooting. Keep them in reserve for now. Let's actually switch them out so that I can use his archers as enemies are coming across the bridge. Now let's get across the bridge instead of engaging. They're just kind of standing there. Okay, let's get some shots off. So as I said, the entire Umbar army is basically going to... Well, actually they seem to be having some success here chasing Gondor around, but the Gondorians will fight their way through and the entire Umbar army will flood across the bridge. So we should have enough men to hold the bridge. We want to try to take fewer casualties rather than more casualties in this battle. Sorry for that. Because this army will come with us as the quest goes on. So we do want to keep as much of the army alive as possible. Right, let's fix our fire there. Gondorians are going to come down the bridge and take these guys from behind, and hopefully that will be the end of the battle. And of course there's still the archers that we need to take care of. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, this submod does add these banners for the units. Almost every Northern Dunedain and Gondorian unit and Dol Amroth unit has new banners, new battlefield banners, and new banner carriers to hold them. And I think they look fantastic. I did not make these banners. And I should probably remember the name of the guy who did. But all the credits for all the contributed work that is present in the submod are included on the Total War Center page for the submod. It's his special ability, so we can use it again when we get him into combat. He's doing pretty well. These guys haven't suffered very many casualties yet. I do like getting the 2 spear units in this battle, because those are useful. The Umbar battle has... Aro Denayim gets a cavalry unit in that battle. So it's nice to have units that can counter cavalry, because you do not get any cavalry, which is basically the only factor that makes that battle challenging. Wow, Gondor is getting slaughtered in this fight, jeez. But they're coming down with some reinforcements here. And then, yeah, some more reinforcements. And these guys are still running around. They really want to get in the battle, but they just can't. Man, I would say that Aragorn's bodyguard unit is paying dividends here on the bridge. But we're not doing super great in this battle without Aragorn's help. We're breaking through a little bit on this side. So eventually we're going to have to get Thorongil right into the melee combat, because Gondor is going to take care of these guys.
If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
Boy, this was a bit of a mess, this battle. Now the Gondorians are being sandwiched in between. Alright, I think it's time to... We've almost recharged his special ability by now, I'm sure. So it's almost time to get involved here. Gondorians are going to break through. Let's go ahead and get him involved in melee combat. Because at this point we're mostly shooting the Gondorians here. So let's disable all of our defensive formations.
The battle is very much in our favor.
Yeah, they just took a big hit. They were above 50% and now they're almost all gone. Their Gondor is almost wiped out. So this archer unit came in behind them. But I still see some of their banners up. And our banners are still flying high, so it's looking good on this front. We've almost lost this entire unit. Our ally general has died. I'm surprised the Arodenaim general is still alive. They must be. Oh, they're over here. Yeah, they made it across the bridge. That's why we're taking so many casualties. They got their general's bodyguard over here. There's really not that much interesting stuff going on in this first battle. It's just a two-sided bridge battle. It's usually even more one-sided than this. I've taken a lot of casualties here. I have played this battle out and taken fewer than 50 casualties, but I don't think we're going to do that well in this battle. It is possible to play this battle out and take very few casualties. And that is what you want to try to do. Our ally is almost dead, which is not good. Oh, now he's routing. That's not good. So now these guys can shoot us on the bridge. I'm surprised that Gondor did not do that well. Gondor usually does pretty well in this battle, but it seems like they really got handed a defeat here. They're routing through us. That's not good. Alright, I think it might be time to speed this up. They're now returning the favor with their arrows.
Stand, men of the West!
We just cannot kill any of these household guard. They had, I think, 8 just the last time I checked, and they've only lost 1 in the last minute of fighting, so let's go ahead and speed this up.
The enemy army flees the field.
And
We
end
are
that battle.
victorious. Our
Yeah,
soldiers have
160
fought
casualties. Wasn't so great compared to 30. Not the best we probably could have done in that battle, but oh well. Another good loading screen. Yes, I do apologize. This playtest is going to be a lot of loading things, but that's just the way it is. I don't plan on editing this video, so sorry about that. And I'll probably wrap this video up as soon as the music ends. I don't need to adopt him. This will kind of mess up the family tree. I don't really care about the family tree that much in this submod. If you look at it, we have Aragorn here. He's actually not on the map. Thorongil is not Aragorn, so he's not on the map. And the family tree looks basically the same as it does in DAC. I've changed the female portraits. But other than that, very few changes. Now, the family tree did get kind of thrown under the bus in this submod, and if we do make it through in the course of this playtest, if we make it all the way through to the part where Aragorn gets marriage offers, then I will be able to show you that. But for now, we've completed that part of the quest, and we've gotten a long message, which I'll let you guys read. that tells us to go to Umbar and adds our army for going to Umbar. So the Umbar army is pretty good, at least for an army that's available this early in the campaign. And we're going to load ship.
Engaging the enemy fleet. We are victorious. Ships
Fight
ready.
these guys and head out.
Yes, sir. Full sail.
Now we're done with the first part of the Thorngil quest. He's going to be sailing to Umbar for the next few turns, so we can pay attention to what's going on up in Eriador. Now the first change that you'll see is that our capital is actually at Senestalin. This is the Dunedain capital, and it has been moved a lot from Amansul. So previously in Dak, the settlement was just here next to Amansul. However, it is still the case that if you fight a battle at the Senestalin settlement while it is still at this level of town, you will actually fight at Amansul. Or a better way of putting it is the battle map will be Amansul, even though it's a little bit separated, but that's the same. We've increased the distance a little bit, and the reason that I've changed the settlement location is intentionally so that it's a little bit more isolated here in the middle of nowhere. It is more vulnerable to attack. Angmar will absolutely attack you, whereas in Dak, this settlement was kind of rarely attacked by Angmar, at least in my experience, but this settlement gets attacked every campaign. The other reason is that it makes a little bit straighter path for... I liked the position of these roads, and the roads are procedurally generated in every region. And so we wanted this to be the Great East Road that travels from Ered Luin all the way to Erebor. And I like the layout of the roads in this, with the settlement located here, than where it was previously. So I like how the roads lead naturally to the other territories, the other regions. So... yes, our capital is here, and Arafor starts in the capital, and he is one of our only two starting kind of generic generals. Here in Fenastrunin, Fenastrunin is actually technically, the angle is part of Rudaur, or traditionally part of the region of Rudaur. So Fenastrunin is actually considered to be a territory of Rudaur and not of Cardolan. So you cannot no longer train Cardolan units here at Fenastrunin. In fact, the only units that are available to train, not at this settlement, we're going to train a Ranger's Hall because we can't train anything otherwise, but the only units that are available to train from the start of the campaign are these, what I call the Ranger type units. That is the Dunedain Wardens, the Steelbowman Bodyguard unit, the Spearmen, and the Rangers, and the Horse Archers. These four units are the backbone of the early game Dunedain army. Until you unite a successor kingdom or Arnor, or you have a vast empire that can bring into play the Beacon of Hope, these are the only units that are going to be available to you. So what that means is that even though this submod does greatly expand the Dunedain roster, the early game Dunedain roster is actually significantly more restricted than in Divide and Conquer. So you'll notice there are no Cardolan units available because we have not started the Cardolan pathway. There are no Arthedain units or Rudaur units available because we haven't started those kingdoms yet. So at this point in the campaign, I'm probably going to build a leather tanner here, and we will test to see how the financial system plays out. But I'm going to train a few units and a diplomat and a spy. We need 2 units of line infantry here and what I consider to be kind of line infantry. The Dunedain Wardens were previously used as the Grey Company bodyguard for Aragorn. This has been changed because, in my opinion, from my point of view, there is no ideal unit to use as the Grey Company. And Third Age Total War through Dak have used many different units for the Grey Company. They've used this unit, which is a sword and shield unit. They've used the Horse Archers before, was a popular one. Rangers also a popular one, just an archer unit. But really, when you look at what the Grey Company actually was in the lore, the Grey Company was just a group of Dunedain Rangers who went south to fight with Aragorn. And they rode on horses, they rode on horseback to get to... they met Aragorn near Edoras. I think, if I remember correctly, they met at Edoras. They met somewhere around. They met him in Rohan, and they rode on horseback, and then they rode on horseback as well to get to Dunharrow. And I think they went on foot from there. I may be wrong about that. It may be that they went on horseback all the way through Gondor to Pelargir, but they ended up fighting on foot at the Battle of Pelennor Fields as basically as swordsmen. So this unit, choosing this unit as the Dunedain Wardens makes sense, but it would have also made sense to have them be a cavalry unit, or to have them be an archer unit or a cavalry archer unit. But really none of those options really completely encapsulate how they fought. We don't really know how they would have fought when they were actually in Eriador. And the whole idea of the Grey Company is just that it was a company clad in grey that traveled from north to south, and people referred to them as the Grey. Galadriel specifically refers to them as the Grey Company, but that doesn't refer to them as a specific mode of fighting or a specific unit type. So really, in this submod, we have removed the Grey Company entirely. There is no longer a unit that is called Grey Company because it's simply the Dunedain who are the Grey Company. So this unit has been repurposed. Their stats have been reduced slightly. But that said, with an attack of 8 and a total defense of 15, they are, with that high defense skill and a high armor rating for what this unit is, they are still very good. They are probably one of the best early tier units, if not hands down the best early tier unit in the game. Still very strong, but not as strong as they were previously as Aragorn's unique bodyguard unit. And these are your mainline kind of infantry unit. Then if you are planning on countering cavalry or wargs, you do want to go with the Dunedain Spearmen, and they have been renamed just the Spearmen because the Wardens are now the sword unit. The Spearmen as well, with defense of 16, attack of 6. As a spear unit, that's very good. So these again are in comparable strength to the Wardens. Is a very good unit. And the Rangers, not much has changed about them. They are basically the same as in DAC, and except of course for the armor upgrades. As we go through, the user interface has not changed, but the armor upgrades for these different units have been completely overhauled, which is something that you can see on the Total War Center page. So these guys will all upgrade to more unique armors as your blacksmith levels increase. But for now, I think since we already have a ranger unit there, we're just going to stick with these 2 line infantry units. And I'm going to try to go through a little bit faster rather than just stopping to explain everything, just because I'm going to run out of music, and when I run out of music, the video is going to end. That's what I'm going to use as my stopping point. So the starting disposition is actually very similar to in Divide and Conquer. This fort has been moved from this kind of nonsensical position halfway between Anuminos and Fornost, has been moved to the south of Bree, as if to suggest that the soldiers garrisoning this fort are in fact defending the city of Bree from the dangers to the north. That is exactly what they do, and if you do nothing, then this fort will certainly be attacked by Angmar.
Yes, Mother.
And we have Hervigil here again, kind of in a surrounding position, so that the Dunedain appear to be sort of surrounding Bree from all sides in a defensive posture. So for this campaign, it is kind of a good idea to decide which successor kingdom you are planning on uniting from the very start of the campaign. You don't have to do this, obviously. There are really two approaches that you can take to the Dunedain campaign, because the mechanics of the Dunedain campaign have just been completely overhauled. And the 2 approaches that you can take are to decide which successor kingdom you want to unite right off the bat, and then that will influence your starting moves as to where you move characters, which areas you focus on. Or you can rush Angmar. And I say that because if you rush Angmar, it's possible. It's challenging, but it is possible to defeat Angmar very fast. If you just bum rush the faction, they will just kind of die. Even with their doom stack that spawns when they have 2 territories left, they will still just kind of die. It's very easy to outmaneuver Angmar. The AI is not that smart, and you can get away with just rushing Angmar without using any sorts of cheats. And if you rush Angmar, then there will not really be any threats remaining for you in Eriador. Obviously, Dunland is present to the south, Enedwaith are present to the south, but they are not really going to become threats to you until like turn 30-ish. Around the time of turn 30 to 40, there is a scripted war. There's a three-way scripted war which occurs between Bree and Dunland and Enedwaith, and until that happens, it's not really a concern, unless you're planning on uniting Cardolan, in which case it is your concern, because if you are doing Cardolan, you want to start capturing those regions as quickly as possible. But I think what we're going to go for in this campaign is we're going to do option number 2, which is we're just going to try to rush Angmar and eliminate them, and then that way I will be able to split the campaign into 3 different save files for Arthedain, Cardolan, and Rudour.
Yes.
So I am just right off the bat going to try to bring one of our starting characters, Arenia, right up to the north so that she can participate in the campaigns. Now, this brings up a few different things to talk about. Obviously, the Barradowns region has been expanded a little bit to the south. It now takes up a little bit more space on the strat map, so it's a little bit more visible. The Barradowns region does not just consist exclusively of this line of hills. And the Barrow-wights themselves we've actually brought in models from the Ruforged submod for Third Age Total War, and I think these guys just look fantastic. They're very scary looking. They're a little bit more like what I envisioned the Barrow-wights would have looked like when I was reading through that passage in Lord of the Rings. They're a little bit scary, ethereal guys, and they also move very slowly. So one thing to keep in mind about the Barrow-wights is their stats have been boosted ridiculously, so that if you engage them in melee combat, they will absolutely destroy you. So you do not want to do that. The way that you counter the Barrow-wights is by using archers, using fast-moving ranged units. You do not want to try to engage them in hand-to-hand combat. And what this does is, since the AI is not smart enough to realize that fact, it will take the AI, whether it's Enedwaith or Dunland or Bree or whoever, it will take them significantly longer to capture this settlement, which will delay a little bit. It will give you a little bit more time to defend Bree. Bree will not die quite so quickly. And that's important because the Bree faction has been nerfed a lot in this submod. They do not have as many units in their roster. Their bodyguard units have been removed and changed and nerfed, and lots of things have been done to them to make them a weaker faction overall. So part of your job as the Northern Dunedain, part of your canonical job, is to defend Bree and make sure that Bree is not dead, because if Bree dies, you will not be able to unite Arnor. So really the entire reason for the Dunedain to continue growing and expanding and eventually reforming these kingdoms is in a way to defend Bree.
Your orders.
So, to continue through the first few moves, we already have our buildings set up, and we're recruiting some stuff.
Yes, my lord.
And what I like to do is pop on over to this region, which Rudour Lowlands is in fact considered part of Rudour, pick up some mercenaries, and then come back in this direction. And we do need to address, there is an army of Angmar here. If we toggle Fog of War, there is an army of Angmar that is about, this army is mentioned in the introductory message in one of the script messages, and if we do nothing, they will capture Dead Man's Dyke, of course. So, I'm going to leave Hulbrod there for now because his 3 units are not sufficient to challenge that army. He does have the fully upgraded Dunedain Horse Archers, which do not look like that. They have their fully upgraded armor. And yeah, I think that's good for turn 1. We're going to see what the finances look like. Yeah, 3,000, that's good. You should lose money very quickly as Dunedain. I don't think it's going to be that severe to the point of getting 3,000, but you should lose money more quickly in the submod. Now, I do encourage you to save your games using this method. I did make a video about this, which I posted on the Discord. This is turn number 1. The last digit of the turn number is 1, and so we're saving it as Arnor 1. Oops. And this will help if we encounter an end turn crash. That'll help us be able to go back in time. So while this end turn is happening, I can talk about some other changes in this mod. Obviously, the biggest changes, and the reason why I'm playing as Northern Dunedain, is because the largest changes to this mod do relate to the Northern Dunedain faction. Obviously, a lot of the scripts, the reunification of Arthedain, Cardolan, Rudour, Arnor, and the Reunited Kingdom, all of those only pertain to the Northern Dunedain. Additionally, a lot of the aesthetic changes to this submod, armor upgrades for those various kingdoms, as well as all of the Northern Dunedain units. Almost every single Northern Dunedain unit, their armor upgrade sequences have been changed significantly, so most of your Dunedain units end up with a good level of armor by the time you have Arnor united. And if you actually check in the building browser, if you check the blacksmith levels, they will say chainmail for the last 3 levels, and that's a lie. The reason that it says that is because you can actually build those blacksmith levels before you've united Arnor, but you will only be able to upgrade the armor at those blacksmiths once Arnor has been united. So the way that it works is the 3 successor kingdoms, each one of them unlocks the 4th level of armor upgrades, and Arnor unlocks the 5th level of armor upgrades. So typically we do get this candidate for adoption right at the start of the campaign, and I like to accept it just because the Steel Bowman unit has been combined with the Dunedain Bodyguard unit, and it's a very good unit, and you only get it with these generals. You can't really, it takes too long to replenish to recruit. So it wants us to take this settlement, which is pretty standard. And we will take that settlement. Now that we have a general there to lead our forces as well, there'll be no problem at all to take that. So we're going to continue building that there, and we have a few units coming out here, and I guess we'll wait for those units. We'll get another diplomat. I'm going to send my spy straight up north right away so that he can tell us what's going on at Angmar. And I'm going to send the diplomat to Dunland. I want to get line of sight over Tharbad so that I can check how many units are present there. And
yes, my lord.
we get this guy over here.
Yes.
So you can see he is sieging that settlement. We're going to get the mercenary unit that's available here. You will notice that
Yes, my lord.
bandits are no longer present as mercenaries. Instead, we have the sellswords as mercenaries. Now, there is a choice you have to make. This submod is all about making choices. Those mercenaries are also available to Arenia here. They're no longer available because there's only one available in the pool. It's the same mercenary pool for both regions. So you can either add the sellswords to this northern region, or you can add the sellswords in the south. If you're planning on doing Arenia and uniting Cardolan, then that's the way that you would want to use those units. So again, it's all about the strategy of how you're planning on approaching the campaign. I'm going to combine this army and we're going to attack them. We're not going to be able to do that this turn, but maybe next turn.
Yes, my lord.
I'm sorry, I absolutely love this audio. Aragorn's little song. This is the song that he sings at the end of the 3rd movie, where it's just one of the most beautiful scenes in cinematic history, in my opinion. Just fantastic. Anyway, I think that wraps it up for this turn as well. We're going to go ahead and move Thorngil. And the place where we want to land, there's a little bit of confusion about this, but if you look very closely here, this entire coastline in Divide and Conquer as well is covered in cliffs all the way around to here, and in Divide and Conquer the cliffs even come all the way into here. But in this submod, there is a small gap in the cliffs right here where you can land, and it's actually mentioned in the message for Thorngil's quest that you can land somewhere in a hidden cove. This is the hidden cove. I haven't made any red arrows or anything pointing at it. You just have to know that it's there. And I guess if you're watching this video, you know, so the secret has been given away. But if you land there, you then can attack Umbar by land instead of by sea, because attacking by sea is going to be very dangerous. There are a lot of Umbar navies inside this gulf that will kill you. So we're on our way there, and I think we've pretty much wrapped up here, so we're going to save it as 2. So other changes in the submod, the big scripts are the 4th Age script. There are a few factions which can make it to the 4th Age. Erebor, Khazad-dûm, Gondor, obviously the Northern Dunedain. Eredluin, maybe. Maybe not on that one. And I suspect that that's it. So there are a few factions that can make it to the 4th Age, and what that means is you will unlock some hidden units, which I will not talk about. There are some hidden units, there are some new building levels that you can unlock, there are a few buildings that have become available.
Yes, my lord.
And obviously you get an event message for that. And the date gets reset to the year 1, which I think is kind of fun. So over here, our monetary situation is pretty stable actually. Train some more infantry. Before we run out of money, I'm going to try to train as many units as possible. And the horse archers as well.
Yes.
I'll send this guy to the east.
I shall continue tomorrow.
And maybe
Tomorrow's
go
journey
Malgus.
planned out.
Right.
Your orders,
You
my
are gonna
lord.
come south.
Your will, my lord.
Another thing that you will
Yes, my
notice
lord.
is that watchtower prices have been increased to 500, so then they're not trivial. Basically, the watchtower, I've explained this on the Total War Center page, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I've increased the watchtower cost to emphasize the strategic importance of it. Because, first of all, it's only an upfront cost, and so all of the value that you get out of it for all the subsequent turns that it exists has to be condensed into the upfront cost. And secondly, the only real advantage that the AI has over you as a player is that the AI does not have line of sight restrictions. The AI basically plays as if Toggle Fog of War was always enabled. So you're at a disadvantage to the AI because you can only see certain areas where you have line of sight. So adding these watchtowers really gives you a huge advantage. And so making them cost only 15 money I thought was always kind of lame, because it means you can just spam them out wherever you want. Whereas in this submod, they don't cost nearly as much as a building, but they still cost a non-trivial amount, so you cannot build them just wherever you want. But as soon as you get your economy going, obviously 500 is still not very much money. It's less than a unit. I mean, each one of these units costs 950 to train, almost 1,000 to train up front. So the watchtowers cost very little by comparison. So you will still be able to spam them out fairly easily. Now you will also notice that I have a mercenary here, which is the Dwarven Travelers. The Dwarven Travelers mercenary is available to almost every faction, but they're only available in regions that make sense. So in Dwarven regions and also in regions that are along the Great East Road, you can find the same mercenary in a single recruitment pool that exists all the way from Eredluin all the way to Erebor.
Yes, my lord.
So the Angmar army has already captured the settlement, and we're going to go ahead and attack them. And this is a known bug in DAC. It's not really a bug, but it's the fact that the walls are destroyed, but you still need a siege engine to attack the settlement.
Yes.
Yes, my lord.
And we're going to have our
Yes.
combined Grand Army here. So this is an extremely OP army to have this early in the game. And Angmar's army, it looks like their mountain trolls have died in the auto-resolve against the rebels, which seems to happen a lot. But it wouldn't really matter. It wouldn't help them very much, because even though the mountain trolls are an intimidating unit, they are extremely vulnerable to archers, especially massed archer fire. They do not survive for very long. And the mountain trolls have been updated as well, so unfortunately that unit is dead, but hopefully I'll be able to show you the new mountain troll unit from Reforged. And we'll continue to move our spy to the north.
Approaching quietly.
And run straight into that settlement.
Approaching quietly. I shall continue to...
And get this guy.
Yes.
Oh, we've already moved him. Alright. Now, these three little islands here that you can see, these three islands south of Mirland, there is an issue with them, that the AI tends to have armies get stuck on these islands. They actually get stuck just to the south of the islands. If that happens to you on your campaign, that has not happened to me yet, And I know for a lot of people it just doesn't happen, but for some people, for some reason, it does happen. If you end the turn, and as soon as all these other factions are done with their turns, and it gets back to your turn, and then you get the spinning ring icon, which is the loading icon, and it just doesn't go away and it won't let you do anything, it'll probably be because the AI has armies stacked up here in these tiles just below Mirland. The AI gets armies stacked right in these tiles right here. Actually, now that I look at it, that might actually be the issue. There's a little bit of water here. There's a water tile there, which could mean that there's a smoothing issue. There could be a smoothing issue on the coast here. Well, I'll have to look into that. But there are armies that they get stuck right here on these islands, and it's not any good, so that will cause that bug.
Can you not tell friend from foe?
Corsair ships are not going to be a problem for our Gondorian fleet.
Your orders. Without question. Stopping here. Yes, my lord.
With honor, we shall engage.
Yeah, I'm not going to get the Dwarven Travelers
shall
yet because
prevail.
it's the Dwarven Travelers is probably the most useless unit in the entire game. Gonna be honest with you, it is probably the most useless unit, just because they have no range and they don't do fantastic. I guess they do alright in hand combat. They do better than some archers, some militia archers, but it's not great.
Yes. I shall continue
I'm
tomorrow.
gonna go take High
Stopping
Pass.
here.
High Pass is one of the few, I think it's the only pass through the Misty Mountains that you can actually get a diplomat through there without getting stuck. He gets stuck here, and obviously he gets stuck at Moria. So, and yes, the settlements have been renamed Moria, which is their name in the Third Age. They are not called Khazad-dûm, they are called Moria. So we're gonna fight that battle. That's gonna be a good one, hopefully. Actually, probably not. But we'll fight this one.
Your orders, my lord.
As you command, we attack!
So it's hard for me to go over all the changes that this submod makes, because for those of you who have already played version 1.0 or have been playtesters on 1.1, you know that, well, actually even you guys, as from my experience with talking with you guys, there are just so many things that this mod changes. It's hard to cover them all. It's hard to remember what they are. I mean, the changelog is ridiculous. I've been working on this mod all summer, and I've now run out of time to work on this mod, which is why we've been putting out version 1.1. So this battle is going to be some archery nonsense. Oops, I don't want him in there. We're going to try to make this fast, because Angmar just kind of gets slaughtered in this battle. A lot of their army is already dead just from fighting the rebels. Yeah, not a very interesting battle. Oh, there he goes.
Our soldiers have proved their worth today. The enemy's walls belong to us now. The battle is very much in our favor. Victory will be ours.
They sending their yeah, they're sending their bodyguard to die. See, the AI, it's not that smart. Not that smart. So you guys are gonna
The battle is very
die.
much in our favor. Victory will be ours.
Just wow. Just why? Why though? Is he gonna make it? He's just gonna run straight through withering archer fire at a leisurely pace, walk straight through. Nope. There he goes. Alright. Wow. Alright, let's get these guys moved up. Loose formation. They probably have a bunch of archers. Yeah, they have a bunch of goblin archers with poison arrows. And I don't really want to take any casualties in this battle, because this is kind of a stupid battle. No. They will kill our cavalry fairly easily, though. They're just gonna charge us? No, they're coming closer to shoot our, coming closer to shoot these guys. Oh, that's a problem. Come on. Well, that's that. Did take a few casualties from our infantry units. Shoot those guys.
Only half the enemy force remains.
It's like these guys are out.
Dunedain. Fire at will. Keep out of sight. This way. Fire at will.
I know in the
More
trees.
at will. The enemy army flees the...
Okay.
This is a clear
16.
victory.
Not bad. Yeah, so I think the reason why it's so possible to rush Angmar so early in this campaign is because that battle that we just did is such a joke. Because you have so many archers, and I mean, the starting army, especially with the Rudauer mercenaries, starting army just gets ridiculous. And yeah, I know, it's a general stack. And some people have house rules where they don't like to have multiple generals in the same army, which I think is kind of silly, but, you know, whatever, to each their own. That certainly would make the campaign harder, for sure. but we're about to do something like that anyway because we don't have a choice. If we want to rush Angmar, you have to split the generals up because you have to control a lot of territory very quickly.
An honorable, glorious victory! My lord, our courage and honor have conquered.
Yes, my lord.
Alright, and we'll take out that next army, but I think I'm going to wrap up this video for now. This has been, let's see what's in this.
Approaching.
I'm gonna stick you.
Some radar units. These guys now have, their fort position has been changed slightly. I'm going to keep going north here. Those guys are blocking the river, so can't get across. They know what I'm trying to do, and they're trying to stop me.
Your orders,
Let's get him,
my lord.
and this guy.
I shall continue
And
tomorrow.
Thorngill is already on his way.
Ready.
So, yeah. I think I'm going to wrap up this video here. I'll save this file. And we'll continue our playthrough in the next video.